Hey, it is Thursday, January 25th. I am Dr. A. He is Rick Camlin. We got Hall of Famers. We got legends. We got the OGs. We got guys who have been doing this since the early 90s, maybe even the 80s. Some of us might have even invented the sport of fantasy basketball. I don't know. Nobody can verify or not verify that. Anyway, it's 11 o'clock. We're going to get going right now.
I think that was your best cold open of the season right there. It is Steve Alexander, me, Rick Kamla. We are the OGs. This is the RotoWire Fantasy Basketball Podcast, award-winning and brought to you by our friends at Underdog Fantasy and FanDuel as well. Doc, what's up, dude? Cam with the Hall of Famer here, and so much is going on. Wes Unseld Jr. this morning has been let go as the head coach of the Washington Wizards. He's going to go into a front office role. Michael Keefe, an assistant's going to be the interim guy. Next week, we'll talk about some of the ripple effects of that. It's just too early to tell about rotation changes and that kind of thing. But that news is hit today. Obviously, a couple of days ago, Adrian Griffin let go by the Milwaukee Bucks as their head coach. He was not offered a job in their front office. They just said, beat it. Here's a cardboard box. Put your stuff in it and have a great life. And they're going to move on and have Doc Rivers here as their next head coach, according to reports. So the Bucks win last night at home against Cleveland. And I just want to make a little bit of commentary here, Doc, and we'll bring you in and fire you up. I do believe that Adrian Griffin should have gotten the entire year as a rookie head coach to see if he could sink or swim. The Bucks didn't see if he could sink or swim. Made it through half the year. 30-13. This is the most David Blatt thing ever. And I love Doc Rivers. I think Doc Rivers is a terrific coach and an awesome coach, actually, and an upgrade over Adrian Griffin. So I don't agree that you didn't give Griffin the full year, but you made the move that you move and so that you made. And so I do like Doc Rivers in the seat a lot. It is an upgraded coach. It does increase the Bucks' chances of winning it all this season because not by much, but it does. I thought this team was just dead in the water with Adrian Griffin. They were going through the motions. They weren't passing the eye test. They were passing the stat test on the offensive end and in the standings. But you got to pass both. Boston passes both the eye test and the stat test. They're balanced. Good offensive team and defensive team. Joe Prunty coached last night. Doc Rivers will be the coach coming up soon. And, Doc, anytime you get a coaching change, there are rotation changes. And there were rotation changes last night, but they don't impact fantasy. Pat Connaughton had an uptick in minutes, campaign back in the rotation after falling out of the rotation the previous two games, but they're waiver wire guys, all right? And Andre Jackson played 1 minute. He was a part of the Stay Ready group last night, and he's been playing some time here. So, Doc, what's up, man? Doc Rivers is going to be the next head coach of the Milwaukee Bucks. Adrian Griffin is out. How you processing all that?
It's very interesting. Players have a lot more power today than they had back in the day. And Giannis has come out and said, we didn't fire him. It wasn't our decision. But they play a part in it. Anytime you hear that players are not happy with their coach, it's not like it was back in the day where it's like, you guys be quiet, do your job. We'll figure out if we're going to fire the coach or not. If players check out and don't care and get swept by the Pacers and don't play any defense and look like the Milwaukee Bucks and several other teams in the East can just run over them, they're going to make a move. Adrian Griffin, I feel bad for the guy. He finally gets his big break and now it's over. And, like you said, he didn't get a front office job. He's got to go find something else to do. He'll catch on. I mean, his record was what? 30-12?
30-13.
Well, I think the 13 happened when he was not on duty, maybe. I don't know. 30-13, whatever it was. It was crazy that, because they won. You're right. 30-12. 30-13, whatever. So it's a tough break for Adrian Griffin. Doc Rivers, though, man. Yeah, he wins. Yes. He makes things happen, but his playoff game sevens and clinching playoff record is atrocious. He's 6-10 in game sevens. I think he's lost 5 straight game 7s, if I'm not mistaken. He's 17-33 in games where his team could have clinched a playoff series. That's not good. I mean, for a team that has Damian Lillard and Giannis and is trying to win it all. But, more power to him. We'll see what happens. I still don't think Doc Rivers, being the coach, is going to help their defense because they don't have Jrue Holiday.
Bingo. That's my sensibility on this as well. Doc is going to help this team. They're going to play harder for him. He will be able to hold them more accountable than Adrian Griffin was. But they have to get better on the defensive end if they want to win the gold ball this year. They suck defensively. Last night, Cleveland shot 50%. They scored 116 points, without Garland and Mobley. Once again, I didn't see an uptick in their defense last night. I saw the Bucks making shots last night. That's what I saw. So they've got to make a move or two at the deadline. The problem is they're a second apron team, which greatly limits them. Like if Lowry is bought out from Charlotte, the Bucks can't go get him. Just a CBA thing. And so they kind of got what they got. They might be able to, make a move for a really fringe guy. I'm not even sure if they can do that. But I know they can't go get Kyle Lowry based on contract and the collective bargaining agreement and all that kind of stuff. Let's holla at our boy real quick here, Doc. And I know you have him in the rundown. He is a player that I have yo-yoed off and on the Cam Dynasty waiver wire and currently on Sam Merrill of the Cleveland Cavaliers. Doc, look, man, I am a talent evaluator, okay? And I know you are too. You have to be a talent evaluator to be good at fantasy basketball, DFS, heck, ATS, anything. You have to be able to evaluate talent. Who do you like? Who do you trust? Who's got the it factor? Who is what is, rhymes with bit from Shinola. I know $1 million stroke when I see one, Doc. First time I saw Steph Curry at Davidson, I was like, whoa. First time I saw Klay Thompson in the NBA, whoa. Dirk Nowitzki with that rainbow. All the great shooters, man, you just know it when you see it. And Sam Merrill is a great shooter. He is going to live in the 40s his entire career, guys. He is going to have like 43.5% from 3 for his career. Like, he's that good. He reminds me of Steve Kerr, Doc. Kind of a, smaller dude, not bringing a lot physically to the wood, not a playmaker, not a rebounder. He's a shooter. And he's got a really lightning quick, super efficient, no wasted motion shot release, which reminds me a lot of Steve Kerr, who statistically is the best three-point shooter of all time by percentage. And so I'm a huge Sam Merrill fan, Doc. I think it's a big time go get him off the waiver wire because even when Garland and Mobley come back and you got LeVert, I still think they're going to be able to find half of the game for this guy. I think his shooting is so valuable. You saw last night, Doc, played almost the entire fourth quarter as they were in come from behind mode. And I think they're going to have half the game for Sam Merrill, even when all the guys are healthy. How are you viewing this, man?
Well, I mean, just looking at, not even looking at the eye test of how he looks shooting the ball, just looking at his numbers, 14.6 points, 4.1 rebounds, 3 assists, 0.6 steals, 4 triples per game in January, double figures in scoring in 9 of his last 10 games, and he is 4.2% rostered in ESPN leagues. That means he's available everywhere. And I mean, if there's a guy I'm telling people to go pick up right now, it's Sam Merrill. And Rick, did you know that at FanDuel you can tackle millions in prizes all playoffs long in FanDuel fantasy contests? If you're new to fantasy, there's no better time to get in on the action because right now new customers get 100% deposit match up to $100. Playing fantasy for huge cash prizes on FanDuel is fun and exciting. Just draft your lineup and watch your team move up the leaderboard. Plus, on FanDuel, you can choose from full slate contests featuring multiple games, single game contests, season-long best ball contests, beginner-only contests, which are great for learning the ropes and more. And when you win, you get paid instantly. So kick off your FanDuel career with a 100% deposit match up to $100. Go to FanDuel.com to start playing for huge cash prizes today.
So anything else you would like to say about Sam Merrill before we – by the way, Sam Merrill And Doc is loading up this week, okay? It's Steve Alexander, FSWA Hall of Famer, a.k.a. Dr. A. He's in the Cam Dynasty, and I am as well. And we're playing this week. It's a relatively competitive matchup. I noticed that Doc is making pickups this week, and he's scooped up Alec Burks, and he's got some guys trying to fill some holes, trying to contend with his boy Cam here. Ultimately, I don't think this is going to go well for you, Doc, but Sam Merrill bopped 4 threes on you last night, and I see you trying to make moves here, trying to take down your boy. Let's get it on here, man. We got, 4 days left of competition, dude.
It's not all about you. I've kind of like slacked on that league a little bit. And you and the K train been calling me out. I'm trying to make some moves, trying to get back in. I really couldn't do anything when LaMelo Ball was out for half the season like that. It's hard to do well in a dynasty league when you lose a guy like that. But he's back. Our team's kind of rolling. We put SmackDown on somebody last week, maybe the week before that. You might get a little SmackDown this week. We're about to find out.
I like it. The trash talk is on and popping. All right, Doc. So I know you want to talk about Jonathan Kuminga. I'll wind you up first on this one, man. By the way, it's the RotoWire Fantasy Basketball Podcast brought to you by FanDuel and Underdog Fantasy. And we're happy to have you guys and girls all in here. We're going to obviously take your comments and spend a lot of time on that later in the show. Doc, Kuminga.
11 of 11, 25 points, 9 boards. 2 steals, 2 blocks off the bench for the Warriors last night. They blew out the Hawks. Yes, it happened against the Hawks. I don't think Steve Kerr loves Jonathan Kuminga, just like I don't think Jock Vaughn loves Cam Thomas. My trade, Santa Doc's Christmas in February wish is for Cam Thomas and Jonathan Kuminga to get traded to coaches that like them. I think Kuminga is the youngest guy to hit 100% of his shots and score 25 points in NBA history. So that was pretty cool. Let's let him play.
Doc, don't get me started, man. Well, you just did. Going back to James Wiseman and Steve Kerr not trusting the young fellas. Talk to Moses Moody and his agent, okay? There have been comments that Moody's not happy with his role. Might appreciate a change of scenery. Kuminga, there was the report that came out that he had lost faith in Coach Kerr. It's all very predictable stuff based on where Bob Myers drafted these guys. And of course, now with ESPN and a consultant on the Washington Commanders. And I think that's why Bob Myers, there's so much in here, Doc, to me. And I'm a guy that talks to people. I'm a guy that reads all of this. All right. And obviously very aware, been doing this for a while. Bob Myers and Steve Kerr had a power struggle. I don't care what anybody says. They had a power struggle. Was it vicious? Was it Machiavellian? I don't think all of that, but there was a disconnect and a disagreement about what to do with the young guys, okay? Bob Myers drafted Wiseman at 2, Kuminga at 7, Moody at 14. 3 lottery picks, okay? They have to play. And the Heat would find a way to play them. Boston would find a way to play them. The Lakers would find a way to play them. But he didn't want to play them. He's a stubborn, old school, Phil Jackson-esque coach. He doesn't like rookies unless they're his rookies. Doc Podziemski, his rookie. Trace Jackson-Davis, his rookie. Those other guys were Myers guys. All right? That's the disconnect. That's why Myers left, I think. It's not Draymond. It's not money. Lakeup had a bunch of money for Bob Myers. Bob Myers was tired of drafted players, and then they never play because Steve Kerr is in the way and stunting the growth and, frankly, kind of sort of low-key ruining their careers. James Wiseman did a tailspin he will never recover from. Moses Moody is now looked at as a bench player, and he came out of Alabama looking like maybe like a starter and all that kind of stuff, but he still might be, but probably not. Kuminga is a stud. Kuminga is a scoring machine. He's got, 25 straight games in double figures since Steve Kerr finally decided to play him. The fact that with all of the guys not playing well, Looney's not playing well. Literally, Doc and I have the same vertical as Kevon Looney right now, okay? And we're way older than him. And Wiggins obviously having a horrible, horrible year, and Kuminga still can't start. So I'm with you, and I love Cam Thomas, Doc. I freaking love Cam Thomas, okay? He is a born scorer. He's not really looking to play well with others, okay? It's kind of like get out of his way and let him go to work. And I don't think a lot of coaches in the NBA like that, Doc. And so I have a feeling he's going to be butting against that a lot. He's not a system guy. He's an ISO, go get buckets dude. He's old school. Right, Doc? In the 80s or 90s, Cam Thomas would be fine. There would be a coach who'd be like, yeah, I'll take 25 points a game, okay? But now you got to pass, you got to hit threes, you got to be an analytic net rating darling and all this bull crap, man. So I'm totally with you. I love them both, and I would like to see one or both of them traded. The thing is, Kuminga's not going to be traded, Doc. He's not. There's been a million reports saying that the Warriors will trade Wiggins. They will trade, this guy or this guy, but they don't want to trade Moody and Kuminga. And that feels to me, Doc, like a Joe Lacob thing, because I believe Steve Kerr would trade those guys like that. And I think Joe Lacob is like, no. Okay. I like these guys. We got to think about the future a little bit here. By the way, our dynasty's dead. Our dynasty's dead. It's crumbled in pieces. Okay. All right. So let's get to Charlotte and Detroit here, Doc. And I know you're fired up about Brandon Miller. God, Doc. Oh my God. So I picked up Nick Smith and started him against Doc last night, right? Nick Smith. I thought it was going to be Nick Smith season. And you see on Twitter, right after the trade of Rozier, Nick Smith, SZN. And I had that thought on my own, Doc, but I mean, he came off the bench, played 16 minutes last night. So that is not going to happen. I already cast him back to waivers, man. So talk to me about Brandon Miller.
4 straight games, 20 points. The Hornets are sellers. They are collecting draft picks. I'm not sure that Brandon Miller he might be the only player on the Hornets that they're not willing to trade right now. I think I could see Melo ended up with the Lakers. I mean, I don't think they're going to trade Melo, but it wouldn't shock me if some blockbuster involving LaMelo happened. But I just feel like Brandon Miller is the guy that's going to score all the points for a horrible team the rest of the way. There's no reason to rest him. There's no reason to sit him. Just let him go out there, be Cam Thomas, do it all, and not give a crap. So I think Brandon Miller's going to have a big second half. I think he should be picked up everywhere. And we welcome back Nick Richards last night, 21 and 10 and a block, hit 9 of 13 shots. I think he missed 5 games with a bum ankle. So, and even though he came back, it didn't ruin PJ Washington. PJW still got his too. So that's what happened. That's what's happening in Charlotte with me right now.
So Gordon Hayward is there's reports that he may be bought out because it's going to be tough to trade him. An older player and a terrific player. I want Gordon Hayward to go to Boston, by the way. That's my buyout destination for him. They need him. To me, Hauser, Pritchard, okay, like if you put Gordon Hayward with Hauser and Pritchard and Horford, okay, now I think you got a really solid 9. But they feel one bench player light to me. Anyway, Hayward is likely not going to complete the season here with Charlotte. Okay, so it's more Giddey up for Brandon Miller and PJ Washington. And, there's reports now, Doc, that Miles Bridges, that there's some interest reportedly from the Phoenix Suns in Miles Bridges. Now, I think that's a terrible idea, but it's Matt Ishbia, Michigan State Sparty, and obviously Miles Bridges is a Sparty, and Sparty is, trust me, I've got a dear friend who's a Sparty, and it's all he ever talks about. I worked with Steve Smith, the great Steve Smith, for, God, I don't know, a decade at least at NBA TV. Sparty. Okay, he has a building named after him on the campus of Michigan State because he's a donator, okay? Boys with Izzo, all this kind of stuff. Very, very familiar with that culture. So this is, if he does it, it's Ishbia, Michigan State on Michigan State on Michigan State. Us against everybody, all that bull crap. And I don't like it because that would be offense, and they don't need Miles Bridges, okay? But anyway, Miles Bridges may be moved. And so that would free up PJ and Brandon Miller even more. And Nick Smith will still be stapled to the bench because Steve Clifford's an old school coach and he just doesn't like rookies. That's what they do.
Rick.
All right. So go ahead, Doc. Go ahead.
Hey, do you remember when Steve Smith gave us his Hawks playoff tickets and we went and saw him play the Heat? We sat in the second row, I believe. Yes. And that was the game where Josh Smith tried to go through his legs with a windmill dunk and missed it, and the Hawks lost. Was Steve Smith the mayor of Atlanta, or was he the governor of Atlanta? What was he? Or is Dominique the governor?
Okay, good question. Because what I know, Dennis Scott is the mayor from the Himalayas. And Steve Smith was the what were the two positions you said right there? The governor and the who?
I think Steve Smith might have been governor.
And then so what's Dominique?
Dominique's like the king. I don't even know.
Oh, yeah, okay, so El Presidente for him.
El Presidente.
And then we got Steve Smith, the governor, and then we got Dennis Scott, who is one of my all-time homies, the mayor from the Himalayas, which used to be one of his radio monikers. Anyway, dude,
I just wanted to clear that up.
Random Atlanta tangent right there. So Doc, I picked up Marvin Bagley Jr. because I am in, God bless America, I've got some injury problems on my team. Here you are saying your season's torpedoed because you don't have LaMelo Ball. Here I am in first place with Cunningham on the pine, Smart on the IR, Hawk is on the IR, Eason on the IR, Evan Mobley on the IR, Ivica Zubac's on the IR. I got so much talent on the IR, it's a joke. I'm gonna have to trade guys when guys get healthy here. But Doc, I picked up Marvin Bagley. Absolute desperation, Hail Mary, because out on waivers right now in the Cam Dynasty, it's Plumlee, it's Tice, it's Al Horford, it's Larry Nance, it's like all these streamers that are going to give you nickels and dimes, right? I'm like, all right, screw it. Daniel Gafford might be traded. And I would love that because K-Train just traded for him, and I love K-Train, but I'm going to be battling with K-Train for a championship here. So I hope Daniel Gafford gets traded to a contender where he plays 18 minutes a game, and Bagley shoots up to 34 minutes a game and does more of what he did last night. That's where my head's at with Marvin Bagley, Doc. How about you?
I mean, I just keep waiting for him to go away. When Gafford came back, but he had 17 points, 15 boards, a steal in 26 minutes. Thanks for doing that to me last night.
Let's go.
I just think if you picked up Bagley, you hang on to him until we see what happens because you just don't know. And he's balling out. They played what was that say? Yeah. Daniel Gafford could get traded, like you said. And then on a side note, away from Bagley, Deni Avdija has been fantastic this SZN. He had 24, 6 and 6, 4 triples. He's an 11th round guy. You drafted him in the 11th round. He's doing exactly what you need him to do. There's nothing sexy or fancy or exciting about him, except that he's delivering almost every night, and I'm digging it.
Doc, help me out. You're more of an Avdija guy than me. I know you have him in the Cam Dynasty, don't you? He's on your squad, right? I believe he is.
Dude, I don't know.
See that's part of the problem here. The fact that inventory of your own team is a little drifty. But do you have Deni Avdija? You don't. Yeah, you do. There he is. You have Deni Avdija. And he will be going up against me tonight. So as my dear friend Paul Allen would say, be careful, don't chip a tooth on the way to the game. Voice of the Minnesota Vikings, one of his favorite lines right there. Correct me if I'm wrong, though. Avdija is like 1 block, 1 steal, 2 threes per game. Isn't he a 1-1-1 guy, Doc?
Yeah. And he doubles occasionally. He just goes out there and puts in quality minutes, and he's playing really well. He's probably their most consistent player this season, which isn't saying much given Jordan Poole and all the other messes they have. But Deni's been pretty good.
All right, Doc. It is the RotoWire Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Underdog Fantasy and FanDuel. You want to get a message out here? Or we good on messages, or how you looking?
Underdog Fantasy is the #1 platform for NBA best ball and DFS player pick'em contests. If you haven't tried Underdog yet, new Underdog users receive a first-time deposit bonus up to $100 and a free 6-month subscription to RotoWire. With promo code RWNBA, that's promo code RWNBA. Visit UnderdogFantasy.com or download the Underdog app today and use promo code RWNBA to claim your free RotoWire subscription and deposit bonus. Rick, I think the free subscription to RotoWire is worth it alone right there. The other thing is, if you're scared, you don't want to, your wife's going to get mad because you're going to spend a lot of money. I mean, you can play for $1 a day, and it's still entertaining and fun. So have at it.
I want to send a quick shout out to RotoWire. And clearly we're employed by RotoWire here, but it's no shill. It's like a legit shout out. So RotoWire has it's all of the sports. Okay. I'm a big college football guy. And I'd like to do more with RotoWire on the college football front, to be honest with you, Doc. We'll see how that goes. But they have the blurbs that, your career started with another entity, which I fed off of for all the fantasy shows that I did, with Intel and all that great information. But RotoWire has those blurbs for college football. All right. And so free agency has hit college football. The transfer portal, NILs, coaching movement has created a blur and an absolute blizzard of player movement. And it's very, very hard to keep it all straight. Talia Tagovailoa, the Maryland quarterback, right? I forget the chronology, but he was going to come back to school. Then he was going to go pro. Then he entered the transfer portal. Then he couldn't go back to school because of eligibility, and then had to go back and declare for the NFL draft. Stuff like that, right? And there's a bunch of other guys that have stuff like that going on. RotoWire has blurbs. I'm not sure, Doc, anybody else on the planet is doing this, okay? I don't know. There used to be another entity years ago that was doing it. They don't do it anymore. And, Yahoo doesn't do college football fantasy anymore, which I think sucks. Absolutely sucks. So shout out to RotoWire for investing and really dialing up college football. I think it's awesome. Even covering every movement of the transfer portal, every movement outside of Power 5, all of the FBS teams. And whether it's Marshall or freaking, the smallest teams you can think of, and they're in there. Okay. And I think it's just great, man. I really do.
Not only college football, NASCAR, golf, women's basketball, like literally almost every website that I used to go to has dropped everything, because what is king? Football, NFL football is where every penny of every budget goes to, except at RotoWire. I mean, they're still plugging away at the little guy sports. And if you love a little guy sport, I mean, RotoWire's got it. And I mean, again, we work for RotoWire, but it's not like you can go anywhere else and find as good of coverage of all these sports that you can at RotoWire. So, I mean, I'm a huge fan.
Yeah, it's one-stop shopping, and we'll just leave it at that. But it's literally, I get geeked about it. I do my Mad Dog radio show every Saturday, and I don't go to RotoWire college football every day. I go there once a week, and I just pour through the blurbs, right, and see it. Okay, that doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. That matters. That doesn't matter. And I vet it, and it creates bits for me on my Mad Dog show. So shout out to RotoWire and all the great people covering all of these sports. All right, Doc. Memphis beat Miami last night, and the whole game I'm like, okay, Miami, okay, push the button, flip the switch. They're not flipping the switch. It's the fourth quarter. They're down 10. It's fourth quarter, they're down 14. They're not going to flip the switch tonight, are they? Mysterious game from the Miami Heat perspective, okay? Memphis played well. Terry Rozier made his debut, and I want to talk about that, Doc, and I know you want to talk about some of these Grizzlies. Terry Rozier last night, and this is some important stuff for fantasy, okay? The Heat lost, like I said, more going through the motions. We've seen a lot of that. They've lost 4 consecutive games now, guys. Butler and Bam sucked last night. They absolutely sucked. Didn't feel them. The eye test, the stat test, they failed both. Hero was decent, 18 on 8 of 15. Rozier came off the bench. And I believe this is going to be how they approach Terry Rozier. With last night, it was Highsmith and Richardson. When Hawkins gets healthy and they still have Nikola Jovic, it might be those two. It might be Caleb Martin and Josh Richardson, okay? But they've got all these wings, and they like to put those wings in there with the big three. Rozier was brought in to basically quarterback the second unit here at a very high level. 9 points, 4 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals, 1-3, 3 of 11, 29 minutes, not a great game. And, Doc, I've been considering Ani Sridhar is a producer over at Fantasy Sports Radio, and he's in the Cam Dynasty. I've been considering for a year or two trading for Terry Rozier, but I haven't, because I've always been waiting on the trade out of Charlotte when he goes back to being a bench player like this, right? And we don't get 23, 4, and 6 with all these threes and all these steals. So if you're a Terry Rozier manager, it's Buzzkillville. You're going to get some good stat lines, but he's going to fall way off of the 23, 4, and 6 he was doing in Charlotte this year. So talk to me about that or the Grizzlies side, wherever you want to take it, Doc.
Well, Terry did get 29 minutes. It's his first game with his new team. I mean, I'm not ready to call him dead in the water yet. And I don't think you called him dead in the water, but he's going to take a little bit of a hit, but I don't think he's going to be this every night. I'm going to give it a week and see where we're at with Terry.
Well, what do you think? Like a 23, 4, and 6 is a distant memory. I think you would agree with that. What I'm looking at like 15, 3, and 5 kind of thing. A steal, a 3.5 and a steal kind of thing. Like a solid line, but not. I mean, he literally has like a juicy stat line with the Charlotte thing, but I don't think it's going to be that. What project his stat line here with Miami the rest of the way?
I don't know, 17, 2.5, 4.
Okay.
But he's also going to eat into what everybody else is doing because Kyle Lowry was just sort of out there as a decoy. He wasn't doing anything. He wasn't shooting. He just had the ball in his hands and would pass it occasionally.
And flopping. Don't forget flopping.
And he was flopping, and he's 38. So Terry Rozier's going to have the ball in his hand, and that's going to hurt guys like Duncan Robinson, who I am sitting on in a couple of leagues. And now I'm like, do I need to drop Duncan Robinson? He plays tonight. I'm going to let him play tonight. And if he doesn't get at least 20 minutes, he's gone. But I just need to shout out my guy, Vince Williams, 8 of 10, 5 triples, 25 points. Nice little stat line, baller. Your guy, Gigi Jackson, who you were all in on after 2 games.
No, 2 games. 2 games.
2 games. And then he had 2 disappearing duds.
Yeah, she did.
But I wrote for ESPN yesterday that he was going to go off last night because Santi Aldama was going to be out. We didn't know if Tillman was going to play. They both have bum knees right now. Gigi Jackson needs guys to be out for him to ball out for Memphis. So anytime Santi and Tillman are both hurt, I think you can roll with Gigi Jackson. But the elephant in the room, Jaren Jackson Jr., Rick, at some point, maybe while we're on the air with one of these podcasts, is going to be shut down. And we're going to be like, there it is. Jaren Jackson Jr. has a sore back. He's going to be reevaluated in 10 days. That will mean his season's over. And then guess what? It is Gigi Jackson time officially. It'll be Gigi Jax SZN at that point. I think he's still a hold. And then Scottie Pippen Jr. last night, out of nowhere, 24 minutes, 15 points, 6 boards, 6 assists. I mean, literally anyone on the Memphis bench right now could go off on any night. Like you could spend an entire show just talking about Memphis G League players.
So Luke Kennard sat last night and was a buzzkill for me. I got him in Cam Dynasty, couldn't run him against Doc. And I ran Nick Smith out there for him and got nothing. So that wounded me. Luke Kennard had a terrific game the previous game, and he's been the point guard. Is he a point guard? No, he's not a point guard, but he's playing point guard right now. He had 6-9, I think 17, 6, and 6 was his stat line, whatever, with threes. He's not a steal guy. My God, Luke Kennard is allergic to steals. I haven't seen a guy this bad at steals since Allen Houston. Remember how bad Allen Houston was at steals? Oh my God. I couldn't even do business with the great Allen Houston. He never stole the ball, ever. You got to give me some steals, man. You absolutely have to. So the Pippen Jr. and Gilliard thing, when Kennard is out, this is what's going to happen. When Kennard is in, this is not going to happen. And I don't think they're going to shut down Kennard. He's a bench player, he's a role player. Maybe they do. But I like Kennard as a pickup right now. I really do. I felt like last night's thing was not injury, but rest. I don't know. Is Memphis in a back-to-back here? Do they play tonight? They don't. Maybe it is an injury thing. Anyway, and then on Gigi, Doc, I agree with you. He pretty clearly is like their 8th or 9th guy. So even with all the main dudes out, John, Smart, and Bain, and he's still like their 8th or 9th guy. So Doc is right. And I picked Gigi back up last night as I'm watching the Grizzlies Heat game, like going, I got to go back and get him. And it, I kind of regret the move a little bit because now I got a hole in my lineup for tonight because I got to get Gigi, and I don't know. He's got me, Doc, on the yo-yo right now. And Taylor Jenkins has me on that yo-yo right now of and then there's fear of missing out if you leave him on waivers. Oh my God, Kreitz or one of these guys are going to get him, play him against me in the playoffs. The karma. I just lost in the Cam Dynasty NFL playoffs because of that. The guys I traded out in a massive 6-player trade. I played that dude in the first round of the playoffs, and Doc, I immediately knew I was in trouble. I didn't even look at lineups. I've been doing this too long, man. I just know, we always talk about reunion games, the get back factor in reality, right? Well, in fantasy, I was like, these 3 guys are just going to nail me this week, aren't they? And they did. And I don't know, maybe I've spoken into existence, Doc, but that was a pulsation I had within me. And it came to fruition, and I was one and done. I had an amazing year. I was like 13-2 or something like that. Badass team. Boom, right out of the gate. I'm done. You want to go to the streets here, Doc? You got more to say from the rundown here. Talk to me, man.
Well, I tell you what, let's talk a little Luka for a second. And then let's acknowledge F. Scott Foster. Our boy is back. Doc plus Kamla equals GOAT season.
Nice.
That's good.
Well played.
I like that.
Well played, Doc Scott Foster.
So Luka has put up crazy numbers in 4 games in a row and like 35-5. And they've lost all 4 of those games. I think the only other guy to do that and lose 4 games is Michael Jordan. Luka's teammates are starting to raise their heads. I mean, it's Tim Hardaway Jr., it's Kyrie, and it's a bunch of guys. Derrick Jones Jr. has looked terrible lately ever since I picked him up. The rookie center is just kind of hanging around. Derek Lively, not really balling out. I mean, I still like him. I still want to hang on to him. But anyway, so Tim McMahon tweeted out last night why Luka got a fan ejected from the game. Tim McMahon's a beat writer for the Mavs. And Luka calls him out after the game, like, why are you always saying bad stuff about me? I knew it was you. I knew you'd do it first. And he's like, well, Luka, you got mad and had the guy thrown out of the game. I mean, what was I supposed to say? And he said 99% of what I write about you is good. And Luka's like, yeah, okay, well, whatever. And Luka's like, you didn't hear that guy cussing me up and down for the entire first half. And now there's tweets out there. There's all Twitter. Is Luka unlikable now? Like, where are you with guys getting fans tossed? Do you think if you buy a ticket to a game and sit in the front row, you should be allowed to sit there and cuss at a player for 2.5 straight hours?
I do not think that a fan should be able to sit. If a fan can pay for that ticket and sit there for 2.5 hours and heckle a player, your shot sucks, you're doughy, get in shape,
get on the treadmill.
Just like all that stuff, right? Like that is inbounds to me. But when you take it to the family, when you take it to a threat zone, then you got to go. And literally, if it's nonstop profanity for 2.5 hours, and I don't know what this fan was doing or not doing, I'm kind of going off what you're saying right here. I got a little bit more research to do on this before me and Antonio hit the air later today on Give and Go on NBA Radio. So I guess, and I do like Tim McMahon. I really appreciate his reporting and his backbone because guys like coming at him. Jason Kidd went at him earlier this year, saying, always saying negative stuff about Luka and Kyrie. So clearly that locker room is salty with Tim McMahon. And Tim McMahon's like, I got to do what I got to do. So I shout him out. But you mentioned the Luka likable thing. I mean, I feel like, I don't know, Doc. I mean, I've been on this for like 2 years. I've been literally complaining. And Antonio's like when I started complaining about Luka, complaining about the referees like 2, maybe 3 years ago, at first Antonio was like kind of defending Luka, maybe Cam, you're coming down too hard on him and this kind of thing. And like, as the years have gone on, Antonio is growing more and more like, what are we doing here? Okay. So I've been on the Luka dislikable thing for about 3 years, Doc. And he's a real dichotomy because I love the player. I love the game. I love the talent. I love the Luka magic. I love the stats, but he's a dislikable player. And I know you're a Luka guy. So are you starting to kind of look at Luka like, dude, get your act together? I
feel like, and I said this earlier this season on this podcast, I feel like he's crying a lot less than he was to the referees. I feel like he's a lot less demonstrative. He's a lot more, okay, they got me. And he moves on more than he used to. I also think that he's such a fun guy at practice and pregame warmups. And when the big man was there and he would mess around with Boban, like that was so fun. Like I still think Luka is very likable. I still think if you talk to a 10-year-old kid, they're gonna be like, "Oh my god, I love Luka." Like kids still love Luka, but maybe old guys who are screaming "Get off my lawn" at people are a little tired of Luka. You know, we don't know what was said to Luka all through the first half of that game. We just know what the guy said, something like, "Get your ass on a treadmill. You look tired." And Luka finally was like, "Get this guy out of here." And I think that's the problem. It was more of a heckle and not a straight up talking about family and stuff when it happened. Rick, I have a more important question about Luka, though. Soren and I are going to see Luka on Friday night in Atlanta. Is he going to play? You're muted.
Pardon me. Is it part of a back-to-back?
It's the first half of a back-to-back. He was iffy for last night with a back injury. He left last night's game when his back stiffened up, and then he came back in it, and they got blowed out by the Suns. So I'm thinking this is like a must-win game in Atlanta tomorrow. So hopefully he's going to play.
This is interesting. He's probably going to play on Friday, Doc, because it's not a hard and fast rule, but usually players play the first and then sit the second. That's usually how it goes. Again, there are exceptions to that, but that's usually how it goes. So that's in your favor. You have the Luka Trey thing. Luka and Trey are buddies. You got Trey Young of the concussion protocol here, Doc. He might not play. He might not be cleared in time to play in that game. Also, players tend to play on the road, especially when it's the one time you're going to be there all year, and then rest at home. All right. And so the sack game coming back home is it's a home game. So I like your chances. I feel like Luka will be in that game, but at the same time, Doc, I also think Luka's soft with injuries. I think he's soft. And he's not as soft as Kyrie Irving. I mean, my God. Oh, the injuries with this guy. They never stop. He's got a thumb injury. I don't know. Play through it. Find a way. You know what I'm saying, Doc? Is it broken?
Tape it up. Put some dirt on it.
Give me a freaking break, man. I mean, every time Kyrie's hit, Kyrie and D'Angelo Russell are the same guy. Man, I'm telling you right now, if they like stub their shin on the corner of the coffee table, they're not playing. And they might miss a month. All right, Di, we got to move on. These guys with these nonstop injuries, man, drive me freaking crazy, man. Oh, you got a thumb injury. Kyrie's going to miss 2 weeks, dude. You know this.
Hey, quick hits before we dive into some questions. Are you picking up Jabari Walker yet?
Yes. I mean, he's you can tell me about ESPN availability and all that kind of stuff. I know he's long gone in the Cam dynasty, but yeah, I don't love him. But I like him. You got Tumani Kamara kind of lingering a little bit. Matisse Thybulle kind of Pac-Man some minutes a little bit. I'm liking it, not loving it.
Would you put $100 on the Thunder to win it all right now? They just moved into first place last night, son.
What are their odds? What are the odds?
I don't know. We need to look it up. We can do that later. But yeah, I think.
Yeah, I would do that though.
I think that the odds have to be pretty good. I would think.
Doc, here's the thing on OKC, man. Do they look like a championship team to you?
They look like they can be, yeah.
Okay, so what's the problem? Well, what's our holdup? They haven't been in a playoff series together, Doc, right? That's the holdup.
They're young.
And they're young, and we know how important experience is at playoff time. We know this. In the NFL, in Major League Baseball, in the NBA, experience is very, very valuable and important. So OKC has none of it. But I kind of think they might be an exception to the rule type of thing. Like, I don't know, Doc, like their floor to me is Western Conference Finals, but it's tough because Denver's floor to me is the Western Conference Finals and Minnesota's floor to me is the Western Conference Finals. So some's got a budge right there, but I think that's a clear-cut top three in the East. West, I mean.
Wembanyama. He got his minutes updated to 30 a game. So his minute limit went up. Pop says he's going to be cleared to play in back-to-back soon, which could mean Friday and Saturday. Things are looking up for this Wemby guy, where I've got him on every single team. Also, I volunteered, and we're helping. Me and some ESPN guys are helping these kids with illnesses play fantasy basketball. We had our draft last night, and we got Wemby in the second round. There's only 8 teams in the league, so I mean, my roster is literally Joel Embiid, Victor Wembanyama, Damian Lillard. Like, it's all stars. But I'm so fired up that Wemby might play in back-to-back games this week, because I need him in 30 deep, dude. I'm trying to track you down there. Anything else? No, I think that's the end. I think we can go. I think we can go to some questions, unless you got some Wemby thoughts.
I mean, I'll believe it when I see it. The bubble wrap, the kid gloves. They're probably not going to shut him down, Doc. I am feeling better about that. Antonio keeps hitting me with, name a number 1 overall pick who's ever been shut down. I don't have an answer to that. So Wemby's probably going to play this out. I don't know, man. I think it's absolutely ridiculous that this young guy at barely 20 years old can't play in back-to-backs. And Doc, just quickly here, I think it's more about tanking than it is about protecting the player. I'm not buying that at all. This is not about protecting the player. This is about taking a little bit off the top, okay, to reduce your chances of winning, and it's working. The record sucks. And you say who they're tanking for. I don't know who they're tanking for. There's not an obvious guy in this draft, but like I've been saying, just because we haven't pinpointed an obvious guy for the Spurs to take doesn't mean that their front office doesn't have a guy that they love and want to tank for. So I just hope this is the last year of the tank in San Antonio, Doc.
By the way, did you watch Chet and Wemby banging each other last night? Like,
of course.
Dude, they don't like each other. And that is so fun to watch, man. I could watch that. I may just have them play that 6-minute tape that what's his name? Worldwide Wild put together. I may just have them play that at my funeral. It's just awesome. It's just beating each other up, dunking on each other, staring each other down. So much fun.
Doc, if Wemby is playing the Wizards, I don't care. But when Wemby is playing one of these hotshot guys, it's the best game going right now. Remember Giannis versus Wemby, Anthony Davis versus Wemby was amazing. The Giannis Wemby thing is like one of the best things I've seen all year, man. And we've had these Wemby and Chet games going back to the preseason. But it's cool now, Doc, because Wemby's at the 5. Remember when they played Chet earlier this year, Collins was at the 5 and Wemby wasn't on him. Now it's mano-a-mano, man. And how about that play when Wemby went right at his chest and barreled his shoulder right in on Chet's chest and then kind of stared at him on the baseline? That was dope, dude. That was dope. We get that 4 times a year.
And we also get to thank Wemby for some of Joel Embiid's 70 points the other night. So
yeah.
All right. Ian Souls wants to know, is Xavier Tillman a hold in 9-cat?
I mean, it depends. Doc, I don't hold guys, right? Who has the luxury to just hold guys? I don't hold guys. If a guy drops to am I holding him or not status, he's going to waivers. I got to have dudes in my lineup at all times that are helping me win. So I don't, even in a dynasty league. And I mean, like, my idea of grooming a young guy is a Jaime Jaquez. Okay. Like, he's giving me 14, 4 and 4, a block and a steal and a 3, right? Like, he's helping me while I'm kind of stashing him for the future. But I'm not going to hold some dude that's giving me 6, 5 and 1. No, that's how you lose. That's not how you maintain first place in the greatest fantasy basketball league on earth. So I don't, you talk to me about, I'm the wrong guy to almost ask about this. There's no such thing as a hold for me. Either you're helping me win or you're on waivers.
I think that was a great answer, dude. Tillman's got a bum knee, but he's playing through it. I mean, he's not a rookie. He's a shutdown candidate. They got Aldama, who's hurt. They got Gigi waiting to play. I think your answer was perfect. I can't afford to hold Tillman unless it's like a 16-team league. If it's a 10 or 12-team league, next man up. Let's go.
I will say this: if Tillman's getting 30 minutes a game, I'm into it. I'm into it. Even 28 minutes a game, I'm into it. But he's not. Well, I mean, what do you think with the Aldama injury, though? You think Tillman's going to get back up to 28 minutes a game here?
I don't think Tillman's healthy enough to, man. I think his knee's messed up too. I don't know how long Tillman's knee is gonna hold up. I think him and Aldama both have bum knees.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't. But then again, I'm not a real doctor, and I have not examined their knees. It's just the sense.
Yeah, I get. No, your sense matters. You've been doing this forever, man.
OG Anunoby has been on a tear with 3.4 stocks per game over the last 2 weeks. Knicks are on fire. Trade looks good. Fantasy, real life. I feel like you may have, when you went off on OG in like week 3, you may have like woken him up.
Nah, I didn't wake him up because he was still asleep as a Raptor. Doc, you know this. I know he was going through the motions, man. Didn't want to be there. Saw the guillotine up there and was like, "Get me out of here." And he's in New York now with Tibbs' system, playing monster minutes, playing at the Garden with the crowd inspiring him, and they're going to pay him, $30+ million a year for what he's doing right now, which is dog defense and corner 3 balls. Man, I'm loving what I'm getting from OG right now.
Our man on the street, Aditya, is back. Josh Giddey was dropped in my league today. Is he worth grabbing? I would drop TJ McConnell. We haven't talked about Ty Haliburton.
I would. I mean, Josh Giddey should not be on waivers in any league, and I don't even care if he's averaging 20 minutes over the last week. That this stuff is cyclical and it changes, and I would definitely pick up Giddey. And TJ McConnell, I really like him when Haliburton is hurt, but Andrew Nebhard lurks, right? And so it's not just full go with TJ.
Yeah, and then, I know you were frustrated last week that Haliburton came back and played 1 game and he got the next game off. Well, it turns out he hurt himself again. They brought him back too soon. Now he's in jeopardy of not playing 65 minimum games to be up for league awards and all these millions of dollars. And, I mean, Ty Haliburton is sort of like the opposite of some of these other guys we're talking about. Like, everybody loves Ty Haliburton. Everybody's rooting for this kid, and he's a great guy. And it's really sad. I hope he's not too hurt, and I hope they weren't being irresponsible by bringing him back early so that he could debut with Siakam.
Well, I can promise you this: that there is literally zero irresponsibility. If anything, teams are way too precautious and way too bubble wrappy. I think he checked all the boxes and was fully cleared, and something gave. And that these soft tissue injuries are prone to re-injury, a groin, a hammy, a calf. So it is what it is. It sucks. But the fact that he was out, came back, and went back out, Doc, you know what this means. He is going to be out longer on the back end than he was on the front end. That's just how this stuff goes. So it's not good news, man.
And Josh Giddey, back to him for a second. He's that guy. He's like the stock market. Not day trading, but he's like a mutual fund. You buy it, you stash it away. You don't look at it every day. You look at it every day, you're going to be like, oh, you're going to drive yourself crazy. No, you just let Josh Giddey play 3 or 4 games in a week and look at the numbers when it's all said and done, and they'll be there, because if you cut him after a 4-5-4 night, after a triple single, he's going to come back and throw a triple double on you. And if he's on waivers at that point, you're gonna not sleep well. So,
I mean, look, I'm looking at his game log over the last 5. I mean, it sucks. I mean, I get it, and the minutes suck. 19, 30, 25, 25, 22. Okay, so Doc, but over that, we had one really good game. Last night was decent, 12, 8, and 4. And even on the dud games, they're pretty dud. We're not getting threes, really not giving any defense. I completely understand Josh Giddey being on the cut line of teams, but maybe I'm just not there yet, Doc. Maybe a week from now I will be. I'm just not there right now.
He'll be back. They're all fired up about Aaron Wiggins right now. Aaron Wiggins has had a couple of good games, 2 or 3 in a row. I think Giddey's season will be back before we know it. He'll come back. He's in a slump. Admiral Nita wants to know who better stash is for the trade deadline. Amen Thompson, Keyonte George, Herbert Jones.
Oh, wow. I would not say Keyonte George, because I I don't really look at Utah as a seller anymore. I don't look at them as a buyer either. They've got a very, very deep team, and they're winning. I don't know. I think, Sexton and Clarkson are rolling, and they are in the way. Chris Dunn is playing. There's so many guards. I'm not feeling that. Herb Jones, I think Herb Jones is Herb Jones. He's going to have the threes, the steals, the blocks, be very light in the other categories. So I'll say Amen, who's starting to pick it up here a little bit. This Tari Eason injury, Doc, they're not saying anything about it, which is very mysterious and frankly very ominous. It's lower leg, right? Well, what does that mean? Stress fracture, high ankle? What is going on here? So I think Amen's the guy there.
Well, in Houston's stat line, their box score last night was money, and everybody contributed. Everybody was big for the most part, and I like Houston's kind of rolling right now. I think they're going to play super cautiously with Tari Eason. He might just get shut down. I mean, I don't really know how much point there is to bringing him back if he's not fully healthy and ready to go by now. I don't know if he's going to be. Speaking of guys we haven't seen in a while, Mark Williams, back injury. Charlotte's going nowhere. I have very little faith that Mark Williams is going to come back and ball out the rest of this season. Lester wants to know who he needs to drop because he's got to drop Mark Williams or Sochan for Nick Richards. For me, given Trey Jones's foot injury, which it sounds like it's not too serious, I'd rather have Sochan than Mark Williams, unless I can just put Mark Williams on the IL.
I mean, there you go. If the IL is not an option here, and I would drop Sochan, and I can't drop Mark Williams. I like Mark Williams. This guy's a double with a block plus. And obviously you would have the insulation there and sort of the handcuff with Nick Richards. So you should be able to leave Mark Williams on your IL spot. I'm really not sure why we're even talking about dropping him. But if for whatever reason you have to drop one of these guys, I would drop Sochan.
Yeah, but to your point, Mark Williams should be on IL. I mean, I've got him on the IL in 2 of my leagues. Unless your league just doesn't have an IL, which I don't know how you play fantasy basketball in today's world without having an injured list.
I mean, I think I have 6 IL spots in the Cam Dynasty. We have a 14-team league, 15-man roster, and 6 ILs. I have 6 guys on my IL. On my IL right now, Doc, and an injured guy above the line. So, I mean, this is what it is. Thank God we're out of the COVID thing, right? Remember COVID? You needed 10 IR spots in the COVID era, man.
Don't say that word. Knock on wood. Guilford Wong, JJJ for Chet. Any thoughts? I will take Chet.
What? Who is going to trade away Chet for JJJ right now? Stop it. Next.
Stop it. George S. says, I just traded JJJ and OG Anunoby to get Paul George.
No. Nope. George S., I want you to follow us here after the trade deadline and pummel me if I'm wrong on this. I would not have done this trade because I'm not convinced JJJ's getting shut down, Doc. He might be. He possibly could be. I don't know. We haven't seen Memphis in a bottom out like this. So are they going to try to maintain their culture and their standards and keep all their guys and try to win all the way to the end and let it do what it do in the draft? Or are they going to shut guys down? We've not gone down this road with Memphis. And OG, like we talked about, is cooking. And Paul George is such a huge injury risk, Doc, and he's so soft. Paul George is 100%er. If he ain't 100%, he's not playing. I would not have done that trade.
All right, but the Clippers are rolling. Everybody wants to play on that team. JJJ is a shutdown candidate. I'm cool with that trade. I'm good with it. All right, Rick the legend has a big meeting he's got to go to. The OGs are signing out. We will be back next week. I'll be back on Tuesday with special guests. We'll be back on Thursday as usual. RotoWire.com/try for a free trial. Rick, this was a fun one. Anything you got to say before we go?
I mean, just, this was literally your Mona Lisa here. Your cold open was the best of the year. I think the points that you made today, this is Doc A is getting the walk-off interview, okay, with the sideline reporter here. And he's got all of his teammates coming over and pouring water on him, man. Doc, you the man. It's always fun, man. And I love all the people hanging out with us here on RotoWire, man.
And that little kid that was throwing water on Joel Embiid. For the great Rick Kama, I am Dr. A. We will see y'all in a week.